Sean closed his eyes and took aim at an antelope. But the moment he pulled the trigger, he accidentally struck a young boy instead. Stunned and speechless, Sean rushed over to check on the situation. Sure enough, there was a boy lying in the grass. Sean immediately knelt down and tried to rouse him, but the child was already lifeless. Sean collapsed to the ground, not knowing how to face the scene before him. Just then, a man came running over after hearing the commotion. It was the boy's father. Upon seeing his son's corpse, he was overwhelmed with immense grief. His eyes then fell on the culprit and he angrily raised the gun in his hand. Sean was terrified, stammering as he tried to explain it was an accident, but the father was too distraught to listen calmly. Just as Sean thought his life was about to end, the child's father suddenly fell to the ground, shot. It turned out Tommy had arrived to save him. Tommy had witnessed the entire ordeal. To protect his buddy, he had no choice but to shoot the father. Although he saved Sean, this string of tragedies left Sean completely shattered. They had only come to hunt, never imagining they would get caught up in a homicide case. In comparison, Tommy seemed frighteningly calm. He hid the bodies in the grass and quickly dragged a dazed Sean away. But little did they know, the real trouble was yet to come. The two sat in silence in the car, with Sean's face full of horror in the passenger seat. What baffled him even more was that Tommy actually stopped the car halfway, intending to continue hunting. Sean couldn't help but question him. Only then did Tommy explain, if they fled now, it would only confirm their guilt. The best way was to act as if nothing had happened and continue playing the role of tourists from start to finish.
Can you handle prison, mate? Because I don't think I can. And we are in the middle of fucking nowhere, in hundreds of miles of forest.
They decided to stay for a whole day and return to the scene at night to clean up. To avoid suspicion, Tommy even deliberately chatted with nearby store owners, casually mentioning they were there to hunt. Late at night, the two returned to the grassy area where they had hidden the bodies. They chose a secluded corner and took turns digging a pit with a shovel. A minute later, the hole was dug, and the two corpses were properly buried. After erasing all traces, the two rushed back to the inn that same night. But just as they were about to go upstairs, Sean suddenly noticed a young boy watching them from the window. However, they didn't think much of it, figuring they would leave the next day anyway. But early the following morning, as they packed their bags and prepared to leave, they discovered a group of burly men surrounding them outside. Their car was blocked. Seeing this, Tommy took the initiative and walked over.
What's going on?
The leader, John, immediately charged at him, punching and kicking without a word. It turned out John hadn't discovered their secret, but was upset because Tommy had bullied his daughter when he first arrived in town. Fortunately, with the village chief's persuasion, John finally calmed down. However, what was worse was that their tires had been slashed, making it impossible for them to leave even if they wanted to. They had no choice but to stay put for now. But upon returning to the inn, they heard even more disturbing news. Someone had discovered that a young boy from the village had gone missing, and this child was actually the village chief's nephew. Upon hearing this, Sean's face immediately showed a look of fear. His mind focused only on getting out of there ASAP. If the village chief found out, they would be as good as dead. Just as the two were discussing escape plans, there was a sudden knock at the door. Sean walked over nervously, only to find villagers inviting them to join a bonfire party that evening. However, they were in no mood for entertainment at the moment. But seeing the enthusiastic invitation, they had no choice but to join in. At that moment, they spotted the young boy from the window the night before whispering to other villagers. The villagers' eyes immediately turned strange upon seeing Sean, as if they already knew their secret. Clearly, the boy had told them about what happened that night. All Sean and Tommy could do was pray that their secret wouldn't be discovered by the villagers. But the more they worried, the closer danger came. The village chief then assembled a search party to look for his missing nephew in the woods. He also wanted the two brothers to help find the boy. Upon hearing this news, the two immediately became tense but didn't dare refuse and had to agree. On the way to the forest, they drove the BMW provided by the village chief, following behind the group for an easy escape at any time. Once in the woods, the village chief asked where they had gone the previous night. The two hastily made up a lie. Clearly, the young boy had informed the chief of their whereabouts. At this point, the villagers released search dogs and took out the boy's clothes for them to sniff. Soon, the dogs found the spot where the bodies were buried. The soil here was loose, obviously recently disturbed. The villagers worked together to start digging and sure enough, found the boy's remains. Sean and Tommy stood at a distance, knowing their secret was out. They hurriedly got in the car to make a run for it. But before they got far, the car suddenly started leaking oil. Apparently, the village chief had guessed they would try to escape and had prepared in advance. Seeing this, the villagers released the hunting dogs to chase after them. The dogs quickly caught up, biting Tommy and not letting go. They also bit Sean's leg. In the end, Tommy managed to get away, but Sean was captured. Later, Sean was locked in the cellar, where he honestly confessed everything that had happened that day, including accidentally killing the boy and intentionally killing the boy's father. After hearing this, the village chief did not punish Sean, fearing it would bring trouble to the village by attracting the police. So the chief devised a scheme. When Tommy was caught and brought back, he handed Sean a gun, threatening that he must personally finish off Tommy, or else he himself would die. Faced with his good friend, Sean simply couldn't pull the trigger. But after struggling for a moment, he still raised the gun and fired, knocking Tommy down. Although the village chief kept his promise and let him go, Sean could not escape the double torment of the law and his own conscience.